Jean Waight, and you might have seen me driving up in my 8-year-old electric Leaf. I also was a co-founder of the in 2011 of Green Team at the church here. And that was after a 10-week course for climate volunteers through the WSU Extension office, and my favorite topic is food.
Wonderful. So just a wild guess, would you like to talk about food?
I'd be delighted to, Jen. So this is the season where we look outside and see bare branches where the leaves are going to come later, but we can see that structure. And I think it's a really good time, too, to look at the branches of our habits, our buying habits. Now, so I love food. I love preparing it, tasting it, sharing it. But food is a complicated subject. There's, the processing, pesticides, farm worker deaths, soil erosion, treatment of farm animals, emissions from transport, sugars, carbs, additives. If you have ever been conflicted or fearful or guilty about some food, you are not alone. One issue is cost, and I'd like to talk about that because when I was learning about food justice and climate justice, I got kind of tangled up between my Christian understanding of justice and what it was going to cost me to change my buying habits. So I found happiness, but at coffee hour, a conversation I had told me that maybe some others have this issue too about cost. What happened was my friend saw my coffee hour display linking palm oil with deforestation. And she knows where I shop. I like the way they stock their shelves, stock their small store with an eye to sustainability and fair trade and seasonal foods, no waste, and concern for farm workers. And she said, "It's good what they do, but I just can't afford to shop there." Now, she knew I'm not a wealthy woman, and she looked at me like, "Are you nuts?" So palm oil, that's used for a lot of things, and it's long shelf life, and it's in rows and rows of cookies. So I pass those up, and cost.
Yeah, so is good justice-friendly food not very affordable for us?
Well, Jen, food is something we buy over and over, and so we're naturally sensitive to price. It's just the fact that foods that don't cut corners may cost more. But we actually, Americans, we spend less on food now than we did in 1970, like 17% as a portion of our income versus 10%. But we've gotten used to that, and it's baked into our budgets. And of course, we understand that our budgets are a reflection of our aims and not just our resources. So still, exactly how can I spend less on food or spend more on food and still not break my budget? So my first hack was trade-offs, and then a devotional habit or attitude kicked in. I began simply with each change I made in that cost more, I spent less on something else. So I stopped buying face lotions. A couple of drops of sunflower oil is my moisturizer. It's all I need. I also save by postponing some replacement purchases, like shoes. I just make them do longer, repair them. I buy a lot of secondhand clothing. Works for me. So I was able to stop buying crackers from a giant firm that I'd read had some real ethical problems. And as I bought more and more organics and local foods, I really liked them. I learned this about food waste. Leslie Samuelson of the Green Century Fund said, an astounding 40% of all foods produced here in the United States is wasted, with significant consequences for our environment and our communities. If food waste were a nation, it would be the third largest greenhouse gas emitter, right behind the US and China.
That is shocking. So what do you do with that information?
Well, Samuelson was talking about work that she did pressuring a giant retailer to be more sustainable. And we can join her. I've invested in some of her funds. What we do at home counts too, and I find it spiritually nourishing to have practices at home that change. I also, Jen, feel like maybe a little holy borrowing is okay. I have a friend, Tim Burnett, who's a Zen Buddhist, and he led a mindful eating exercise that just jolted all my senses awake. And it was only peanuts and a few raisins. But I have found that over time, my relationship with food has changed. Now, even when I'm alone in my kitchen, I feel like I'm in the company of like-minded folks. And when I'm preparing foods that were raised with care, it's like I feel God's heartbeat. Dissonance, not when I feel like I'm right here where I belong, doing what I should be doing. Now, in case some tips may help you eat what you buy and keep a frugal kitchen, I'm not saying suffer through bitter lettuce, but be creative with your leftovers and what you have on hand, so that you'll have less discarding. When you do discard to the compost, not the landfill. So here are some other tips. Shop smart. You've heard this. The bulk aisle is a wonderful thing to take advantage of. It may be a little more trouble to bring along a bottle and pour your maple syrup into it from a spigot, but it's kind of fun. Soaking and cooking beans is actually almost as easy as reaching for canned. And even if you've forgotten to soak them the night before, there's a way. Shopping with the seasons and sales at your store, and adjust your menu accordingly. It works. Which leads to cook. And with experience, you can keep a low waste and frugal kitchen. Okay, so have you ever done a recipe where it called for just an egg yolk and you threw the egg white down the sink because you didn't have anything to do with it? You can incorporate that into your next meal. Expensive ingredients can be stretched too. 6 ounces of salmon can feed 4 people if they're in a frittata or quiche. I like to make a double batch of soup, portions for tonight, some to freeze, and some to share. I like a classic navy bean soup with smoked ham hock, and it just never fails me. So here's another one: reduce plastics. You absolutely can. It won't necessarily save you a lot of money, but it helps get us off the petroleum carousel. And you may have heard that new factories are being built by the oil companies. As we use less gasoline in our cars, they want to keep us hooked on plastic things. So all these recipes, they say, cover tightly with plastic wrap. Well, instead, I slip a plate on top of a bowl into the fridge, done. You have half an onion left. What do you do with it? You wrap it with plastic wrap? No. I slap it into a piece of wax paper, and then it goes into a bread bag, which keeps the bag clean for another use another time, and into the fridge. Your freezer is also, of course, your friend. I buy blueberries from a local grower that I just buy lots and lots of them and freeze them for all year round until the next summer. Then I use the same freezer bags over again for the next batch. We find that my husband and I, generate less garbage, so we can save money on pickup fees. We have a smaller garbage can. An important tip, though, is to be easy on yourself. And if the wallet gets thin, definitely, shop as you need to. Also, be easy on your family, because it takes patience sometimes to bring others along. And the other thing I would say is trust your judgment, because not every exhortation for what you should be doing is accurate. I've included some notes, I hopefully, on the website at the end of this. But so I won't press my friend about her food budget, just like she doesn't press me about things she leads in. We both know there are many paths to a better world that we want to see, but I might make her some of my really good soup.